This video is going to be a little bit different than the others. My shop is a disaster. I had a vent-free heater in here for several years that just destroyed the color on the walls. It created so much moisture, it rusted things, and it's just high time I get this place cleaned up and get some more organization going on so that I can produce the videos that I want to produce and not feel bad about big brown stains on the wall. So let's take a look at what happened and I'll explain to you what we're going to do. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dierdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Let's fix this mess. So basically what I have in here is a complete and total mess. I have the bench pulled away from the wall so I could clean that wall. The ceiling between the lights and the wall has already been cleaned, and that is about as clean as it's going to get, and it is ready for paint. All the moisture, the vent-free heater used to hang right there where the electric one is now, so I won't have this problem anymore. But the vent-free heater created a lot of moisture, and that kind of rusted my lights. You can see a little bit of rust along the edges of them there, and then the tops of them are incredibly dirty from the soot, maybe a little sawdust and other things that the heater created. So I'm going to clean them up. I've already spray painted the sides and this far side up here of these three lights. I have not done anything with the bottom, so I'll pop the covers out and we will get them cleaned up and painted also. I will also be installing a shelf over the tops of these windows just to store some minimal lumber on and maybe a few other things. So with no further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be using a Behr paint and primer in one for the walls. This is a semi-gloss white, and I will also be using a semi-gloss black to go around and touch up all my trim work. Before I start painting, I want to go ahead and get all my outlet covers removed. I'm going to go ahead and go through and get the rest of these off. There's only a few of them, so it's no big deal. Then we're going to start with all the trim work first. With the outlet covers removed, we can go ahead and just start getting all our trim done. And then the nice thing is when we get out the roller, we just go. I'm going to get this trim knocked out and we'll come back and take a look. I've got the first coat of trim paint finished. It's going to need a second coat. So while I'm waiting for that to dry to get the second coat on, I've got some small screw holes that I need to patch over. I've just mixed up some 20-minute mud and I just want to fill the holes. I'm not looking for anything spectacular. Just get those holes filled. And then get it covered over with some paint. I got a few more holes to fill and then another coat of trim paint. I now have 2 coats of paint around all my trim. This piece of trim will get replaced and so will this one before any painting, but the top is fine. But I've got it all trimmed out, 2 coats, and it might need an additional touch up in some places, but everything is looking good. I got above my lights, I got all that looking good, and I am ready to start rolling. But before I roll, I want to paint this edge right here of these fluorescent lights. So I'm going to pop the covers out so I can just paint that edge and not get paint on my wire screening. So I'm going to do that now. I'm kind of doing this backwards, but irregardless, I think we'll be able to get them down. And just like that. I'm going to go ahead and get the other 3 down and we'll come back when we're ready to get them cleaned up and painted. So with my wire brush, I just want to go around these outside edges and clean them up. Nothing too fancy, I just want to knock the loose stuff off. I'm using a semi-gloss Rust-Oleum, so white. And I just want to kind of make sure I don't get any on the bulbs, but get a good coating on that bottom lip. Get that looking much more desirable. Looks 10 times better. I'm going to do the other two and then we'll start getting some paint rolled on. With the lights all finished, we are ready to get some paint rolled on. I'm going to start with the low stuff and work my way up. I believe I will let this dry overnight and put a second coat tomorrow morning. See what kind of coverage I get with the roller. So far it's not looking bad. It looks like it's covering pretty good, but this certainly isn't the worst of it either. I'm going to keep rolling and we'll come back and take a look when this is finished. The first coat of paint is dry. It's been overnight and I don't know if the camera is going to show it or not, but you can still see some areas that need a second coat. It's a little gloomy outside, so we just have the lights to deal with, especially along the top of the wall. I know that's showing up, so I'm going to go ahead and get a second coat on here and get this cleaned up. That looks like it's going to give me the coverage I'm looking for. I'm going to keep painting. We'll come back and take a look when it's all done. Now that the paint is dry, I want to get my shelving brackets mounted. And I'm wanting to mount one right here at about a 1/4 inch above the trim. The same thing here, one here, and one right here. And I'll let the shelf overhang about 4 or 6 inches from this side anyway, but probably not at the door. So I'm going to get my stud finder out. I'm going to show you that right now. What I have here is the Wallabat DIY Plus, and it is connected to my phone. And we're just going to slide this over and look for the stud. And as you can see, the edge of the stud is out here. So it's a good 1.5 inches to this inside edge. There's plenty of stud for me to mount that trim to. If I keep sliding over, it'll show us the center of the stud. And the reason it's doing that is because there's two studs here, so it's going to show them as two individual studs, but it'll go blank for a second because of that, or it may show it as one continual stud. So I have plenty of material here to mount my shelving brackets to. I'm going to check my other 3 locations and just make sure that I have the exact same thing there, and then we're going to get these shelving brackets installed. If you'd like to know more about the Wallabout DIY Plus, I did a video on it, and I'm going to put a link right up above that you can go check that out. This has to be the best stud finder that I've ever had, and it'll find pipes, it'll find wires, it'll find metal studs, and it works with plaster. These things are amazing. The first bracket, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it at 1/4 of an inch and install it. The rest of the brackets I will either run my 4-foot level across the top, or I will get out my laser level and mount them that way. I'm going to use a Sharpie to mark these holes. These 2 top holes, I cannot get a drill in here to run these screws in. So I'm going to run the screws in first and get the wood threaded, and then I will reinstall the screws with a socket and a ratchet. What I'm using to install them is a 3-inch construction screw. It's a square drive or a Phillips drive, and I'm just going to go ahead and run that in these top 2 locations. Now I want to do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and do this bottom one as well. Now with that, I'm just going to pop the drive out of my impact, and I have a small ratchet here with a 1/4 inch socket that fits right over, and that is how I'll put this screw in. One down, 2 to go. Obviously this bottom one we'll be able to get right in with the drill. Now I'm going to run the bottom one in. And then the center one. It's definitely not a super fast process. One down, 3 more to go. Just to help keep things moving along, I'm just going to use my 4-foot level. That looks really good right there. With those 3 holes marked, I'm going to do the same thing. With 1 screw tight, I just want to double check what we've got going on here. That is dead on. I'm happy with that. Let's get the rest of them tightened up, and then I'm going to continue on and get the other 2, and we'll take a look when I'm done. Now that the shelving brackets are finished, I have everything taped off, and I am ready to put some paint on these window frames and on this trim. I'm just going to paint them back the same black that they were, get them tidied up and looking a little bit better, and we'll take a look when that's all finished. Now with the windows painted, I can go ahead and get all this masking tape off, painter's tape, and this project will be done. Which is good, because now I can get my workbench back against the wall, and then I can get some things straightened up a little bit, get stuff back in the workbench, and get my shelf up. That'll be great. I'm gonna peel off the rest of this tape, and tomorrow we're gonna hit it again. Now that all the paint's dry, before I slide the bench back, I want to go ahead and get my switch covers on. I want to hang my hood back up, my little bit of homage to the NASCAR days. We're going to put that back kind of where it was, but a little bit lower, something like that. So what I want to do is mark my hole locations. It has 2 holes right here. So I'm just going to put a little piece of tape over the top, just like that. And the same thing over here. Just like that. Get me a couple little pieces of tape here. Hold it up here about where I want it. Something about like that. Now just put me a piece of tape on the wall. Right here. Right here. Oops. Something like that. I'll go ahead and extend them down and then start transferring things over to them. Now I want to measure the distance between the 2 holes that we're going to hang with here. And of course, nothing's cooperating. We're looking at 16 inches. Okay, got me a couple of lines there. Nothing's level yet, of course. I'm going to hold the hood back up where I want it. Oh, about right there. I'm going to mark my tape as that being the top of the hood. I'm going to measure from this top of this slot to the top of the hood so that I can get a mark up there as to where the hole needs to be. 5/8 of an inch. Now that we have this one marked, I'm going to go ahead and get a shorter level. Right there is looking really good. So now with everything level and marked out, I am going to use, these screws are pretty cool. You can find them in the picture hanging. They have two heads on them, or a stop, and then a part that sticks out to hang your stuff on. So I just want to set them in here, poke them through, get them started, and then remove the tape. Oh man. All right, let's get this thing hung up. There it is. I like it. Now I'm going to get all my switch covers back on and clean the windows before I push the bench back, but that's all we have left to do. So I'm going to get the other one on, get these windows cleaned, and we'll start to get this mess organized. With the windows clean, I'm ready to slide this thing back into place. That's easier said than done. This workbench is extremely heavy. It's all 4x4s. It's 1.5 inch solid top. And it is heavy. And it doesn't help that I've accumulated all this stuff on top of it. Now that I got the workbench back where it goes, I'm going to clean this up, get all my tools back underneath the workbench on the shelf, get everything back where it goes as far as the workbench is concerned, and then we are going to start making a shelf. A few hours of hard work, I've got all my stuff back under my bench, on my shelves, all my tools are put away. A little bit of organization going back on again. The wall looks really good. Now we are ready to make this shelf. I'm going to use 1/2-inch plywood, and it's going to be 115 inches long. So I need 19 inches out of this one, and then I'm going to attach it to that 8-footer with a piece of 1x material underneath. The shelf brackets will not be in the way, and then I am going to put an upper and a lower lip on it. So I'll show you what we're going to do right now. First thing we're going to do is get this cut off at 19 inches. Next, we're going to cut this off at 14 1/4 to leave us 3/4 of an inch. Now we're done with these. I'm going to use this one a little bit for a table. I've marked all my factory edges so that I want the straight edge, or the factory edge, not the edge that I cut, being out towards the front. And I also would like the better looking side of the material to be on the bottom. And the reason for that is no one's going to see the top. Now I want to mark the center of this 1x8 just so I know what I have for overhang. So with this being the bottom, I'm going to flip this over, because this piece I'm putting on, I want on the bottom. No, it's not cooperating. Just want to get a reference line on here for my screws. I'm going to be using some 1-inch Spax multi-purpose wood screws, construction screws. And we are going to get a little bit of glue on here just for strength. This side towards me is my front edge, so I want to flush this board with the back. Check this for 3/4 real quick. That looks good. I want to do the same thing here, get some glue on this half. Now what I want to do is take this 1x2, and on the front side I'm going to put it underneath the shelf, and on the back side I'm going to put it on top of the shelf so that it doesn't hold me up off of the brackets or hold me away from the wall. I'm also going to put a little bit of glue on this, get it set up on here, start getting some screws in. Shouldn't be too difficult. It doesn't need a ton of screws. I just want this because I opted for the 1/2" plywood, which is a little bit thinner. So this will give it some really good strength and keep it lighter weight. Going to put a couple clamps on here to help me hold it in place. For this, I'm going to be using some 1.5" Spax construction screws. Maybe like every 10 inches or so I'm putting a screw. I put my full length over here on the splice just to give that even more strength than it already had. And then I'll put my 19-inch piece on the other side. And I'll do the same thing across the top here. I'll run my full 8-foot piece on this seam side, and then I'll put my piece down there. There we go. I like that. And get a clamp on here. A little bit of squeeze out. Alright, same thing, 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to do the same thing along the back side of the shelf, only on top. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll give it a test fit. Always going to be up, which is okay. I may not be able to put all my screws in it until I load it, but we're going to test fit it, and then we're going to paint the bottom of it, and then get it back up here. Couldn't have done that any better if I wanted to. Let's take a closer look. So there we have it. These shelving brackets are rated for 150 pounds each, and they are rated for a 12 to a 15-inch shelf. This is 15 inches. It should be plenty sturdy for what I need it to be. I am going to put lumber up there, not a bunch of it, but what I have I want to get off the floor, and I want to get it somewhere, and then if I have a little room left, that's great too. So I'm going to pull that back down and paint the bottom of it. So I'm only going to paint the bottom side. I'm not going to worry about the top. Nobody's going to see it, and it'll just get all scratched up anyway. So, but I do want to paint the face, and yeah, you guessed it, it's getting to be black. Don't know why. I like a black and white workshop. I think it looks good. Makes me feel good to come out here. So that's what it's going to be. This is probably going to take a couple of coats, I'm sure. But it should happen fast. I'm going to keep painting, and we'll come back and take a look, and it's all done. Now that the paint is dry, I want to set the shelf back up here. I'm going to mark the holes and then we're going to drill some pilot holes for the screws that are going to hold this in place. So let's get it set back up there and get them marked. I like how it's sitting up here. I'm going to use a red Sharpie and just mark each hole location. I'm just going to put a little piece of tape right in front of each bracket so that it'll help me find the holes that I need to drill, or the marks for where I need to drill the holes a little bit easier. Alright, take it back down and see what we've got. I can see the holes okay. They're a little bit faint, or my marks for the holes. So I'm going to go ahead and get me a drill bit in my drill and drill some small pilot holes here. I'm going to be using a number 12 5/8 inch screw to hold these in place. So I am going to pre-thread each one of these holes just to make life a whole lot easier, because some of these I will be putting in by hand. Now that the holes are pre-drilled, I'm going to get this back up there and get it secured. So these front screws are easy to get in. However, the ones behind there are going to be a little tougher. I might have to use a small screwdriver, or maybe I can get some extensions on here and get it that way. Got that one. If I didn't pre-thread them, I would never be getting away with this. There we go, that shelf is installed. I'm going to get this extra wood I have laying around up there. We'll take a final look. That's going to be a wrap for this video, but watch in the future for more episodes of the workshop restoration, makeover, whatever you may want to call it. I'm going to be building some cabinet doors and getting some more stuff tidied up in here and getting it more the way that I want it to be. If you enjoyed yourself, click on one of those two videos. They're going to pop up next to me. And remember to always respect the power of your power tools.